Welcome back to another episode of Walked In. Tonight I'm joined by Revel, and we're going to be looking at Ellis Robinson. And, this is a big time recruit out of IMG Academy headed to the University of Georgia. With Georgia losing a lot of their secondary and going to be losing even more next year, it's one thing that we needed to recruit well on. And, we ended up getting five-star Elias Robinson at the corner position, and that's it's a big help right there. And we're gonna be looking at what he can do on the football field.
Yeah, big DB from Florida. Anytime you can get a big time DB from Florida, it's always a good time. Obviously, Chance is very excited about this guy, being a Georgia fan himself. But watching this dude's film, there's a reason why he's excited about it. This guy has a lot of good stuff to look at, not only on the defense side of the ball, but also as a special teams guy, as a punt returner specifically. He is incredibly elusive, very quick. Obviously, he can run fast, has good eyes, good ball skill. He's just an all around good DB. So let's go ahead and get in the film so we can see this guy tear it up.
Yeah, he's not as weighted as someone like Keely Ringo, but he is like 6'1", 185, and he plays very physical, and he makes great breaks on the ball there. You'll see him a lot of times have to bait picks because, and who's going to throw to him, but he has a good job keeping his eyes on the quarterback, looking at where the quarterback's going, and then when he sees the quarterback release, making a break on that ball right there for the interception.
So he lines up on number six, and number six crosses his face and is running this deep route, and he sits on him long enough for number two to be able to pick him up because two's a little bit slow on the exchange, and the whole time his eyes are on the quarterback to see because if this quarterback has his release and he's throwing number six and he's going to trail him and help number two out, but he notices, hey, quarterback, he's looking somewhere else and he's throwing this ball behind me and his eyes are right on it. And as soon as that ball's in the air, you see him take that step, flip his hips the other way, and then dive on and make a great break on that ball. And he ended up picking it too. So I mean, he baited the quarterback into that. And it was also one of those, hey, I'm going to help kind of cover two guys at once here until my guy gets in more of his position. So that's some good stuff right there. You love to see that. And
Yeah, and
here
it's
we
not like
go on the punt returner.
he's playing at IMG Academy, so I mean,
Yeah,
it's not like
good.
he's playing anybody bad necessarily. And you see right here, he's very elusive. He can break tackles and he's fast. So I mean, if we do utilize him in a returner sense on special teams, I think it'll be very profitable for us to do so. And even with that being said, he can make plays after getting interceptions. Look for him to make a play, to get some extra yards or maybe even get a house call.
With as many clips of him returning punts that are in this film, I would expect him to be really wanting that within his recruitment. And you would expect, Georgia plays some studs at punt returner the same way like Alabama does. And the idea behind there is we need to have a guy that can either flip the field or change the game with a return all the way to the house. And obviously, with his film, he's telling coaches that, hey, I want to be able to return punts or kicks. And I feel like Georgia should utilize him. Now, obviously, you get to Georgia, there's a bunch of other studs there too. So they might have guys that are better. But as far as his recruitment goes, it's something that he clearly cares about because he does dictate, or I think like 5 plays in this film, maybe four, of punt returns. Obviously, he's a DB, but that's something that he cares about and he's quite good at.
Here you'll see more of that physicality breakout right here. So I mean, it is 10 yards down the field, so not
Yeah,
necessarily the best thing.
he
And
could be
we
called for
see
that for
that
sure.
we see that a lot with Georgia DBs too. But I'd rather them be over aggressive than not aggressive at all. One thing that we can start off seeing is, he gets a good punch on that defender there trying to block him. But you see that ball, you need to get down earlier, especially in the SEC. So I mean, maybe just breaking down on the run or anything shallow would be one thing to point out about him that, Kirby, I'm sure will get him trained to do a lot better.
Yeah, that's really the thing that I noticed about him. The only knock, which it can be a big one depending on if it doesn't get corrected, but obviously being at Georgia with Kirby, it's going to be corrected. This his recognition of the ball and actual like when he is covering is good, but when it comes to stuff that's shallow in front of him, he I think he honestly he recognizes it but he does not break on it.
Yeah,
So right here, ball's in the air, he's looking at it. You
he
want to
just don't
see
want to get
him.
beat. I
Yes, you
think.
you want to see him come up and make a play. And as quick as he is, he can get around this guy, especially when there was stuff like kind of in the way. He could have come down here, he taken the outside leverage because he is the force player on the outside, being that corner, coming down this way, making a play. And also with his closing speed that we have already seen in coverage, he can close down on stuff really quick. So you'd like to see him close down to make a tackle. And instead, he waits till that ball is caught, and then he waits till a little bit longer before he really comes forward. And obviously he's getting blocked. Now, what you love that arm extension, you love pushing that guy over and then making a play out of bounds. So he still makes the play. And I think every single time that we see that in this film, he makes the play, but he does not get down and doesn't make a massive play where he could have. And again, that's a nitpick. But I mean, I think it is worth mentioning because that's something that you would like to see a guy do. Now, obviously, you're not going to see a ton of corners making those kinds of plays, but every now and then you will.
I'll say in the SEC and at Georgia, that's something you look for, them big physical corners. And right here, you're in man. So I mean, he gets a good press off the line, presses him out of bounds. Um, so I mean, that's just one thing to point out
This is what we call
is
bullying.
physicality. Hands on, man's on, take them out the play. And I mean, it's Lipscomb Academy. It's a private school in Tennessee that Trent Dilfer used to coach at. So I mean, it's not like a slouch school or anything. But like right here again, you see that he's technically right and he does things fundamentally right. He keeps his contain outside. He does come down, but it's short, choppy steps instead of flying downhill to make a play.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, I get it. He's thinking I'm last defender. I don't want to get beat. At least just make the play. But, I think you will see that a lot more, just him coming down. Because I mean, you see it right there.
Yeah, he has 3 yards. I mean, at the beginning he has five, but then when that ball's in the air, there's 3 yard separation between him and the receiver, and he closes it immediately. I mean, it's one step dive, and he doesn't make the pick, but he's clearly baiting, and he does get his hand in there and swats it away for an incompletion. So he has tremendous closing speed, and he has really good eyes and ability, and he also has great toughness. I mean, you see that being used on those receivers when he's throwing them out of bounds or into the ground. But I think something that I guess could be added to that is I want to see that toughness against a ball carrier, not against a guy who's just running a route. So obviously you're tough, you have great strength, you have great ability, but do that against a ball carrier. Come down and make a big hit and big play with a guy with a ball in his hands. You may get a fumble instead of just throwing a dude on the ground because he's running a route. You can.
Again, hands on, man's on, push him towards the sideline, stay in front of him. And he did. I mean, might have a little too much hands on, but that's fine. Overly aggressive. Said it's better to see that
You'll
than
live with that.
not.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll live and die by it. Here's him in man coverage going up against a drag. He does get beat a little bit, but I mean,
Makes a play. No first down.
makes the play and makes the tackle, follows him well, tracks him well. So I mean that there's something to be said about that, especially with how much man is being ran in these days.
Definitely. Here's another one.
Yeah, I mean he gets a good extension right there, keeps his outside contained. You'd just rather see him get down on that right now, not wait till he gets a guy blocking him.
Yes, especially in this situation where you know that you've got safeties behind you, so you're not worried about a guy running deep on you on like a double pass or anything. You already have someone with deep responsibility behind you. You want to see him fly up and knock that thing out. And clearly, with his physicality and his ability, he could do that. You don't see him do that in these plays. So that's just one of the things that I think that we saw on that play. I think this play is similar. He makes the play. It's just not as big. This is a little bit better. He does come down a little bit quicker, but then he waits. So instead of coming down to make the play, he
He
just waits,
chops.
breaks down. Yeah, he chops. And he's like, all right, I'm not gonna let you get by me. So you're not gonna get anything
And then
effective
saves the
here.
touchdown.
Correct. So again, like I said, he makes a good play. Obviously, we're just talking about.
He's just playing it more safe than
Yeah,
aggressive.
right.
And fourth punt return. Um, see his elusivity
Yeah,
here.
this guy's got a love for returning punts and strength. I mean, he broke 3
Yeah,
tackles
I
right
mean,
there.
yeah, he gets through tackles. So I mean, He's an athlete. He's definitely going to help out Georgia. If not this year, then eventually. So, big name to look out for in that secondary. And, I really hope he does get the to start at some point if what they're saying that they said in camp was true. Because I mean, everybody's looking at this guy like he's great, not good. Like he is
Mhm.
great, a generational talent. So everything I've heard, and I tend to probably believe it, especially in coverage.
Yeah.
So with a little more coaching on run stoppage and breaking down on run plays and getting upfield, I'd like to see him play a big role in Georgia's future.
Yeah, this guy's a stud. There's a lot to like there. His ability in coverage and his ability to close that space is very unique, and obviously very coveted. There's a reason why a bunch of people wanted him. There's a reason why he's ranked as highly as he is, and all the talk out of Georgia, I would say that it's not unfounded. I'm sure a guy like that, he was used to playing very high level receivers, competition wise in high school, being down in Florida where he was. He is, it's not, it might not be quite Georgia level, University of Georgia level, but it's still high up there down there. So he's used to being locked up against a lot of speed. He was very good in high school, and it's no surprise that he's locking up people at University of Georgia. So you might not see him start. You could see him start, or you at least may see him in rotation. I think if on maybe bigger downs, third and longs, maybe some fourth and longs where teams got to go for it. You could see him being added in there, and if he has that much of an impressive camp, maybe even more than that, because that guy has a lot to like. So, yeah, this is a big get for Georgia and someone that I'm excited just to watch play football because he's a good player.
I was say like Locke always likes to say when watching Georgia football, get number 6 off the field. Dalen Everett, our corner, who always gets targeted and usually burnt a lot. So I mean, could see him step into a big role next year, just like Malachi Starks did a few years ago. But with that being said, a lot of high hopes for Georgia and their talent coming up into the secondary room. For me and Rev, that'll be all from us. Y'all stay locked in.